Hi everybody. Thank you so much for watching our Tadpoles management training today. My name's Katie Short. I work for Tadpoles and I'm here to walk you through the dashboard on Tadpoles. So the first thing I want to start with as we pull up our screen here is I'm just going through our demo, which can be found at tadpoles.com by just clicking on Demo at the top of your screen. So you're welcome to watch the video if you have another screen available, or you can split your screen. You're welcome to also follow along so you can be the one clicking and playing with this too. The first thing to think about is really with Tadpoles there's two sides to the program. What we're going through today is the administrative side of Tadpoles. This is what you as a director are going to be using on a day-to-day basis. You can pull it up on your computer, which is handy. The other side is the app, which you are welcome to watch. We've got a teacher training video as well that goes through our app on your iPad or your smart device, and that is what will be used in the classroom. The teacher training video can be found at help.tadpoles.com if you would like to take that training next. And if you find that you have any questions after watching this video training, you have a couple of options. Also on help.tadpoles.com, we have a lot of resources for you for both directors, getting started with Tadpoles, parents, and teachers. You can also take one of our live webinars. On that same website, help.tadpoles.com, we've got a link that you can follow to sign up for our live webinars, which will go through the same information, but also allow for Q&A at the end. And finally, we have a fantastic support team. You're always welcome to reach out to them at hello@tadpoles.com. All right, let's get started. So as you can see here on my screen, we've pulled up My Little Demo Kids, which is my sample school that we're going to be going through today. Underneath the heading My Little Demo Kids, you're going to see several subheadings. I'm going to call these tabs, and these will navigate you through the different pages in the dash. We're starting with the attendance, and at the top of the attendance screen you can see a section that says Choose a Classroom. Each of these little boxes represent a different class here in my demo school, and inside each box you can see the number of kids and the number of staff who are currently checked into each room. Something really cool you can set up is you can actually edit these classrooms to include your ratios, so that if you ever fall out of ratio, like my poor sweet Cubs room, who is very out of ratio at the moment, it'll turn red for you at the bottom. So it gives you that nice visual alert that something's wrong that you should probably go check on. Now, if you click on a class, like perhaps the Cubs, and look below, you'll see the kids who are in and out. Beneath, you can see each of their icons. Those who are checked into school are over on the left, and those who are out are in the center, sort of towards the right. If you switch classrooms at the top, it will change that view, and if you choose the All Classroom, that first box, that will actually select your entire school. All right, let's keep moving across the screen to the attendance panel, which is in the bottom right. Here you can pull up a couple of different reports, and we're going to start with our 15-minute counts report, where you can click on that red button there. This will pull up 3 different graphs for you, actually showing you your classroom counts every 15 minutes throughout the day. So this happens automatically. It's not something your teachers have to do. As they check children in and out of their classrooms throughout the day, it's just going to record that. If you hover your mouse over any point in time, it'll actually show you the key. So you can see the time, and you can see which color is which class and the actual count. Along that toolbar at the bottom, we've got 2 other options as well. If we click on Ratios, this will give us something similar, except this time it's going to show you your student to teacher ratio in each classroom every 15 minutes. Now, I don't have any teachers checked into my school right now, so it looks probably a little different than yours will look, but you can keep track that way and see how you're doing at staying on ratio throughout the day. Last but not least, we have trailing average at the bottom. Now this one will just say loading here in the demo. Since it's a make-believe school, we don't have any history here, but what will happen in your school as you use the program is it will compile averages for you from the last 4 weeks. So what it's going to do is pop up little graphs for each day of the week showing you your average classroom counts. This can be a really helpful tool for seeing your enrollment, and it's also great for planning out your staffing needs. All right, let's go ahead and press done there. And another great report to pull up here is the blue reports button. Now this is actually going to pull up 3 printable reports for you, all having to do with attendance. You'll see there's a green print button on the toolbar at the bottom. All of these are printable. Now the first one that we're looking at is called the payroll report because it's keeping track of your staff attendance. So my teachers' names are over on the left side. You can see my friends Teach Wonders and Teach Amazing. And in the center, in pink, it's keeping track of the times that they checked in and out of school each day. So you can see that they are able to clock out for lunch, for instance, and it will keep track of both of those times. Their total hours will show up for you over on the right. And if you mark a teacher out sick or on vacation, it's actually going to show that for you on this report as well. Now, perhaps even more helpful is in the bottom left corner, you can click on the Students button, and this will pull up the same sort of thing, except this attendance report is for your children. And it's pulled up by classroom. So at the top, you can see it says 4 turtles. This is my turtles classroom. Again, on the left are my children's names. In the center, it shows me the times that they were checked in and out on the iPad in the classroom. Total hours so far this week on the right. And again, if you mark a child out sick or on vacation, you can find those here as well. You can also make adjustments here. So if you ever need to mark somebody out sick in the middle of the day or adjust a time, you can click on one of those boxes and it will allow you to add absences. You can even add times if they came back, for instance. So a handy tool to make adjustments if needed. And we have a couple of new features here along the bottom as well. If you look in the kind of center of the toolbar, you're going to see other options or other views of this report. So right now, for instance, I'm looking at the times that they were checked in and out. I can also look at the total hours that they attended each day. I can look at their transition report by clicking on transitions. That will show me every classroom they might have moved to. Planning will allow me to see who is expected in each day, so I can plan my staffing needs around that. It tells you right at the top, underneath each day of the week, how many people are expected in. You'll notice my children do not have schedules in Tadpoles, so they say unscheduled. And last but not least, you can also record your name to face counts in Tadpoles on the iPad, and those will be recorded for you in this report as well. Again, it's printable, so if you do need a printable document, this is where you can find that. Now, the last report we can pull is if we go back to the left, you'll click on the button that says Sick, and this will pull up our sickness report. Now, this actually keeps track of the reasons that you marked these children out sick. So if you need to keep a record of contagious illnesses, for instance, this is a very handy tool for that. So let's talk about how to mark somebody out sick. So we're going to close out of this pop-up. And back on that main attendance screen, we're going to choose a child. I'm going to choose Jacob Anders. You can see he's in the out section, and if I click on him, we can click out a day. And here you've got 3 choices. We can mark him out sick, on vacation, or other. I'm going to say that Mom called me this morning to tell me he was going to be out sick. I then can choose if that was excused or unexcused, if that's applicable for you. And at the very bottom, I can record the reason. Now, that's what's going to actually populate that sickness report we were looking at earlier. So I can be general and enter fever, for instance. Or I can get a bit more specific and enter the actual fever. Maybe he had a fever of 101 and I want to keep track of that. All I would have to do is press save and close, and that'll save in our system. You'll notice it flags Jacob's icon as sick at the bottom, and that little flag at the bottom will show up on your teachers' iPads as well. So I don't have to run down the hall and tell my teachers that he's out. They can see that right on their roster on the iPad. Now let's click on Jacob one more time. I want to also show you how you can access the profile by simply clicking on Profile. This is where you can find the child's basic profile information. So a lot of this is somewhat self-explanatory, but a couple things I want to go over in particular that are a bit Tadpoles specific. One are the notes over on the left side. Under Profile, you'll notice there's a box called Note, and this can really be anything you'd like. But what it's really helpful for is something that you need the teachers to be aware of at all times because it shows up on the bottom of the child's photo icon. So if Jacob has an allergy, we can enter that here, and it's a nice reminder for our teachers. We also have a private note beneath that where you can add some additional comments or put something more discreet like maybe a pickup restriction. That will not show up on the child's icon, but rather stay inside the profile. You also have the ability to adjust your guardians over on the right side. So you'll notice, for instance, I have 2 guardians already entered along with a medical contact there. If I needed to add somebody, I would just click the big green add button and I can add them in. The things you want to be really sure to enter are the email address. That's what actually links this guardian to the child, and the type. So let's go over these really quickly. We've got quite a few of them, but only 3 actually receive something in Tadpoles. And those are primary, guardian, and friend. Primary is someone who's involved in the child's day-to-day life because they're going to receive all photos, daily reports, and any additional communications, perhaps emails home that you send out. Guardian is just slightly more limited. They will receive daily reports and photos, but not those extra communications. Friend will only receive photos. So this is a nice option for perhaps grandma if she wants to get a couple of those pictures now and again. All right, let's go ahead and close out of this pop-up, and we can go ahead and close out of the profile. The last thing I want to point out to you, back over on the right on the attendance section, we talked about how to print those reports of transitions, but you can also see them at a glance by simply hovering over the child's name on the list. You'll notice it pops up their transitions, and if you complete name to face checks, those will be here as well. All right, that about does it for the attendance screen. Let's head up to the top to the next tab, which is photos and videos. Now on the iPad, the teachers can take pictures and short videos of the children throughout the day. And they get a chance to add a nice note and label and choose how to send those home. Now before they go home, you do get the opportunity to approve them if you'd like. The way you set this is with that little blue button that currently says 5-minute delay. If you click on that, that gives you several choices. Now, if you're new to Tadpoles, my suggestion is to start with Preview All. That means that no photos will go home unless you explicitly approve them. You also have the ability to set delays, so if you, for instance, chose an hour delay, that would simply mean that the photo would wait for you for an hour, and if you hadn't approved it by then, it would approve itself. Now let's talk about how to actually approve one of these cute photos. So on the left, you'll see I've got 4 photos waiting for my approval. And all I have to do is click on one of those photos, and it gives me a nice menu with options. If I were to choose View, it would pop up a bigger picture of this child so I can see in a little more detail. Edit is handy because it allows you to edit the note that the teacher wrote on the photo. So if you don't love the note, no problem, you can adjust it right there at the bottom. And at the top, you can also re-tag the photo. So when a teacher takes a picture of a child, the first thing they do is actually tag who is in this photo. If you ever notice a mistake, you can adjust it here. Like if this is not actually little Alexis, if I hover over her icon, there's an X there. I could click that X to delete her from this photo, and then I could type in the correct child's name under Add Tag. Now, we can also approve or delete this picture. If you choose delete, it's gone for good, so be a little careful with that one. But I really like this picture of Alexis, and I think her parents will enjoy it, so I'm going to click approve. And you'll see that that photo bounces over to the right side. So I've approved it, and I'm all done. Now, if you're ever in a hurry, one other quick tip. You'll notice right by that button that says Preview All, we have Approve All, and that will allow you to approve all the photos at once. So if you are looking at them at a glance, that's a nice shortcut. Now, one other thing we want to talk about here is how these photos are getting sent home. And you'll notice there's a color-coded stripe at the bottom of each photo, green, blue, or purple. That's indicating how the teacher chose to send this photo home. So if the photo is green, that means it's going to go home to the parents as soon as you approve it. So they're going to get this great photo sent to them during the middle of perhaps their workday. It'll also save a copy to their daily report as a reminder, and it'll save a copy for you in the portfolio as well. So green is kind of your do-it-all option. If it's blue, after you approve it, it's going to go home on the daily report. So it'll wait until the child leaves school, and then the parent will get everything at once. It'll also add a copy to the portfolio for you as well. Now, finally, if it's purple, that is portfolio only. So this is a nice option for teachers to simply save a picture in the child's portfolio, perhaps if they were taking a photo for assessment purposes, or maybe just a special gift that they were working on. That can go straight to the portfolio, which does not go home to the family. One more tool you can use here is at the top where it says choose a classroom. You'll notice I have percentages listed there. That's actually telling me the percentage of children in each of those classrooms who've had a photo taken today. So if you would like each child to have a photo every day, this can be a nice tool to help you with that. Something cool is, let's say one of my classes happened to be at 75%, and it was getting towards the end of the day. If I actually hovered over that percentage, it would pop up a little list of all of the children who do not yet have a photo, and it would allow me to send a note to the teacher via their iPad. So just a nice option for you there, a nice way to remind your teachers. All right, next up, we're going to go to the top and go to the Lesson Plans tab. Now, this Lesson Plans tab is really a planning section. This is going to allow you, and your teachers have access to this as well on their iPads, to plan for future events, meals, activities, and so on. So I want to start by talking about activities. So at the top where it says choose a classroom, let's go ahead and click on a class like maybe the turtles. Now that I have them selected, on the calendar below, I'm going to click on a bright blue day. That's a day in the future that already has information added. You'll see a sample lesson plan pop up on the right. Here I can review anything the teachers may have added in advance, and I can add things myself as an administrator. Let's take a peek at the activities first. Now, if my teachers have entered these in advance, like mine has here, I can actually click on one of those activities and it'll pop up a big editing box, so I can review anything the teacher added and make any changes that I deem necessary. Now there's two ways to use this feature. The first one is if you already do your lesson planning separate from Tadpoles and you just want to enter a nice activity highlight. This is a way that your teachers can enter just one or two things that the children are going to do in school each day, and it will show up on the child's daily report at the end of that day. That can be added up to a month ahead of time on the device, and really all that the teacher needs to focus on is entering the subject area on the left and the description on the right. Those two will be copied over to the daily report for them so that they can have that all ready in advance. Other options are there for you. If you'd like to use them, you can, but things like materials and curricular notes will not show up on the daily report. Now, if you'd like to, you can also do full lesson planning in Tadpoles. So your teachers can use their iPad or perhaps the web to actually enter their lesson plans in advance. And if you're using this for lesson planning, you want to be sure that you're adding a bit more detail. Perhaps goals should be added and materials lists, things of that nature. You can really do your whole lesson plan here. But again, only those couple pieces will show up on the daily report. So the parents can see that subject, goal, and description on the report, but the teachers have access to those extra notes they added as well. Now, if you had made any adjustments here, you would just press save and close, and it'll update with those changes for you. Now, we talked a bit about goals if you're using this for full lesson planning, and those are actually set by you here on this page. Right above the calendar, there's a green button that says Manage Subjects and Goals. We're going to take a peek at this. First up on the left, you can choose or add a curriculum level. So we're going to go ahead and choose our infants here today. That'll pop up a list of subject areas that we have for our infants, which again are adjustable. You have an add button, and I can also edit any subject here. I'm going to select a subject. And then on the right, I have the ability to add a goal to go along with the subject area by clicking Add Goal. I'm able here to add my learning standard identifier. I can even add my standard hierarchy if I need to, all the detail you might need. And when I save that, it will save in the system for me and allow my teachers to actually select a goal when they're lesson planning so they can show what they're working towards. Now, an important piece to that is which classrooms have which goals. And you can have that at the bottom there, classrooms using infant curriculum. You can see my turtles room is using this. If I click that green change button, that'll allow me to change these up. So if actually my turtles and cubs room are infant classes, I can click on both and click apply. And there we go. Now both my turtles and cubs teachers will have access to these subjects and goals. One other great tool you have here is the ability to add meals. So if you serve meals or perhaps snacks to your entire student body, you can add that here from the management dashboard in advance. So we're going to try this out. You have two options here. We're looking at this for one classroom. If you add this for one class, keep in mind it will only go to that classroom's reports. You can also add this for your entire school at the top by clicking on the All Classroom, and then we can choose a day on the calendar. And now if I add a meal, this is actually going to go to all of my students except those in infant and any age classrooms, which it reminds you of at the top. To enter a meal or snack here, you simply choose the meal type at the top. Under food, I can type in a food item. And if I'm serving more than one food item, I can click the Add Food button, and it will allow me to add another food. Now, we always encourage you to enter each food item in its own box, because then on the daily report, the teachers have the ability to do a couple of things. First, they can record how much the child ate of each individual item, which parents really value that kind of detail. It also allows you to edit this information. So if a teacher has a child who doesn't consume gluten, and so they're not going to have graham crackers, for instance, they can adjust that. They could delete graham crackers and maybe add gluten-free crackers that mom brings from home. Now, if I press save and close, it will add this meal to my meal list. You'll notice it immediately writes it in the past tense. We recommend that for everything entered for the daily report because remember, parents will not see this until the end of the day. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the daily report section next. Now, the daily report section is a companion to the lesson plan section. Remember, the lesson plan section was all about planning for the future. We really want to add things in advance there, whereas daily reports are what your parents are going to be seeing at the end of today. This is about the current day. Now, this is really handy for a couple of reasons. First of all, you can do some spot checks throughout the day right from your desk and see how the reports are coming along. So if I wanted to check in on a classroom or a child, I can do that by simply clicking on their icon on the left, and then I can take a peek at their daily report on the right. And this is really cool because your iPads actually sync with your management dashboard all day long. So this is going to be constantly changing and updating as the teachers add information. It's also handy if you have a parent who calls in and wants to check on their child because now you've got that right there in front of you, no need to run down the hall. Now, this is also very handy if you have any trouble with parents receiving daily reports. We actually give you a lot of good feedback on that. So you'll notice, for instance, my friend Maya, at the bottom of her icon, her photo says sent. And that's saying that because her daily report was sent home, but nobody's looked at it yet. My friend Cameron, on the left there, you'll notice says opened, so I know that not only did her report go home, but one of her parents actually opened and looked at it as well. Now, if you ever had any errors, it would report that for you here too. If something was rejected or sent to spam, it'll list that for you so you can help the parent diagnose whatever might be causing an issue for them in receiving this email. And for you, you also get a bit of detail underneath the daily report. So once this report is sent, and it's not here in the demo, but you can imagine it'll be there at the bottom, it's going to actually tell you when the report was sent. It'll tell you who opened or saw the report. It'll give you a full delivery history right there at the bottom. You also have the ability right at the top of the report to print this if needed or resend it if needed as well. And again, if you ever need to go back in time, you've got a calendar icon right there. You just click on the date and you can choose a day in the past. So if you wanted to review a day a couple of days ago, not a problem, you can do that. Okay, so speaking of the past and reviewing, let's go to our next section at the top, which is portfolio. So we actually store all of your photos, daily reports, all of that good information. We keep that for each child inside their portfolio here on the dashboard. This information is actually stored for the entire time the child's a part of your school. So you're always going to have access to it simply by clicking on a child's icon, and that'll open up their portfolio for you. You can have a lot of basic information here, of course, their daily reports, their photos, and again, you have access to this for a long time, so you can download, you can save, you can print. It's all your data. So if you click on one of those photos, you can see that you can download it right from there. If you want to print, you would just click View, and it would give you a print button as well. Now, if you are using Tadpoles for lesson planning and perhaps assessments as well, you're also going to get a little bit of a bonus in this section where you can find printable progress reports. So as your teachers complete assessments on the iPad, the progress will be saved here in the child's portfolio, and you'll have a little print report button on the side there for you as well. Something to keep in mind when you go to print those reports, just be sure that you are choosing to see the background images, and that will allow you to see those photos as well. On the right, that's a scrolling calendar, so you can always go back and choose a specific point in time that you want to review as well. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close out of this, and at the top we're going to go to Notes and Alerts. And this is your communication tool here in Tadpoles at the administrative level. So teachers don't have access to this. This is just for you. And you've got 4 ways that you can communicate with your teachers and families. In that Compose section, you'll see if I hover over any of them, it pops up a little explanation so that you can remind yourself what each does. But email allows you to send out group emails. So under Choose a Recipient, if I, for instance, wanted to send this to the Turtles room, I would just click on Turtles. I can add more than one classroom as well, so if I wanted to send this to the Cubs too, I can add them as well. All you have to do is type in your message. You can even add a PDF and press send, and that email will go out to the group you chose. So for instance, if I'm sending this to the Turtles and Cubs, it's going to send this email to the parents of the children in those classrooms. I can do the same thing with text messaging. Under Choose a Recipient, you have all the same groups to choose from. Just keep in mind that your message needs to be a little shorter because it is a text. Sticky Note, though, is my personal favorite. This is how you can send a message to your teachers via their iPad during the day. So if a child's getting picked up early, perhaps from the Turtles room, you can send a nice message to that teacher right from your desk and let them know what's happening. So maybe a child's leaving a little bit early. All you have to do is type in that message. It's going to pop up in the middle of your teacher's iPad screen in Tadpoles, and then you don't have to do anything extra. Last but not least, we have the emergency alert. This is how you can send a message in case of an emergency. So if you were perhaps closing your school due to inclement weather, or you had a lockdown or anything like that, you can keep your parents informed here with a brief emergency message. This one is actually going to send via email and text to all parents and staff. So it's an all-inclusive option to hopefully reach everybody as quickly as possible. Something to keep in mind with this, one of the reasons that this is used on the web rather than on the iPad as an app is for the flexibility. So if you know that you're going to be closed today because of bad weather, you can log in from home and you can send out the emergency alert. If your power goes out, you can pull this up on an iPad, on a smartphone, anything with the internet, and you can access this information. One thing you're going to really want to do, especially if you are a new school to Tadpoles, is that Change Reply To button. When you send out communication from Tadpoles, if a parent clicks reply, this is who that reply will go back to. So just be sure you're entering the appropriate information there for your school. Last but not least, we have the pipeline section at the top. And this is the way that we keep track of leads here in Tadpoles. At the top, you'll see our leads to enrollment. You can track children all the way through that process. One thing this is really cool for is for children who are visiting for perhaps a tour or a special day. Down above the children's little icons, you can click the blue Add Lead button. Now when you go to input the basic information, you can choose a tour date. So this would be the date that they're going to come visit your school. And what will happen for you is when you press create, it's going to create a little icon for this visiting child. And on the day of that tour, that icon's actually going to show up on your teacher's roster at that classroom. And it's going to say touring so that they know to expect this child. They know that they're coming for a tour. When the family arrives, they can actually greet that child by name and start that day off right. And they can complete a daily report, just as if they were there the whole day. They can take a great photo, they can add a nice note to that report, anything to customize it, so that at the end of that visit, when your parents leave, they're going to get this great daily report. And it's a really nice way to walk out the door and know that they're going to be impressed. All right, so that brings us to the end of our management dashboard training today. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope that you found it useful. A couple of reminders here. You are watching the video, but we do have live webinars as well. You're welcome to sign up for those by going to help.tadpoles.com under Setup. You'll find the links to our webinars. We also have a full-length teacher training video available there as well if you'd like to take our teacher training. And if you run into any questions or things you need help with as you begin using Tadpoles, you can reach out to our fantastic support team at hello@tadpoles.com. Thanks so much, everybody. Welcome to Tadpoles.